Now, I've got kind of like a little spreadsheet thing set up, but first thing that you're going to see is this pie chart, which gives you a pretty good overview of what we're raising funds for. Now, I think the first thing that we should probably get to is the question of why do you need to raise funds? You've already been successful on Kickstarter once. Why do you need to raise funds for this new ring? And there's a few points to that. The main point is the new ring uses completely new technology. So every single component of the ring, even from the FPCB substrate, right, and the IC that we use, and the antenna has been redesigned, and the blank's completely different. But literally everything has changed. So for us to go into manufacturing at the volume that we need to do, we have to raise funds. We've put private capital forward for the inlays to do a test production run, and 4 ceramic ring blanks to do test production run, and we've also done some samples of like the alpha ring blanks and stuff. So we've financed those, no problems at all, and we've financed all of the R&D, no problem at all. But when it actually comes to ramping up for production, we need to raise the capital so that we can actually do that. And also for us, another big part of raising that capital is the engagement with the Kickstarter community, the engagement with our community, having that two-way relationship where you guys get to dictate what we make. We're going to keep things simple this year. We're not going to overcomplicate it, but that doesn't mean that we can't change direction and drop one thing off and bring another thing in. It's really important to us, that aspect of the whole project and the whole aspect of Kickstarter. So let's look at what we're actually raising funds for. There's a little pie chart that you can see on your screen, up here, up there. So up there you'll see that pie chart, and that's basically a breakdown of all of the different things where we're spending funds, and this comes from our finance spreadsheet, so these aren't made up figures basically. I'm going to just quickly run through each one on a separate slide. So I think the interesting thing that you might spot instantly from that is that the big portion of where we're spending money is on shipping. You might have thought that it's actually on manufacturing. Yes, we do spend about a quarter of all funds on manufacturing. But shipping this year is going to be a big part, and I'm going to explain that. I'm going to explain why shortly. So let's get started on looking through. So the actual molds. We have to create 20 normal size molds and 20 normal carbon molds. We can't use the same mold for each one, and by size we mean US ring size, so 4.55, 6, 7, 7.58, and blah blah blah, all the way up to 16, missing out a few half sizes at a low demand. The reason that we have to create a mold for each one is because we do ceramic works now. We're not just milling down titanium, so we can't just use a 3D model. We still use 3D modeling, obviously, but the machining is done as a negative, and then we make positives from the molds themselves. Very expensive to do ceramic mold work to the tolerances that we work at. So we will allow deviation of about, on ceramic work, about 50 microns, which is 0.05 mil. And that is because if we had any more deviation, then the inlay may not fit, or the ring may not be as comfortable as we'd like, or any factor it may crack, because we have to do a lot of work in developing the actual molds themselves. This is probably a whole different video just on the amount of work that we do in the mold research process. So yeah, it's a big chunk of money doing mold work. Roughly looking at about $1,000 per mold, so quite expensive. So manufacturing of inlays being the next thing. Now we've done. By the way, I should have said on the mold work, this is what you get out of it, right? So you get the blanks are the positives that come from the molds, which you'll see anyway. Right, inlays. So you guys may or may not be familiar with that they actually look like, but these are our 20 by 6, so these are kind of like the flagship ones. These are the ones that disrupted the industry a bit. They're beautiful. Well, I think so anyway. There's been a lot of time and effort put into the very fine details on these. I think there's going to be a separate video purely on the inlays, but if I bring the microscope up and just quickly show you, let me see if I can. Okay, let's get some light on that. Right, okay, so let's bring this into shot. So you'll actually see this is a bit of an older inlay because it says NTAG 203. So to actually do the R&D on that, it has taken us 2 years. and run at extremely high costs, not just in labour for myself to do the R&D, but we have to pay for each iteration, and we're about 400 iterations into the inlay development. It's so important that we get the inlay right, that the frequency's right, that everything's properly tested, and we work with an extremely competent antenna designer. I think I've mentioned it before, who we work with, but they're basically Samsung, right? So it's as close to Samsung as you're gonna get. And we work down to about 10 micron tolerances, so very, very, very fine. The shipping of the inlays actually comes from South Korea to China as well, so there's some additional issues there as far as like taxes and getting them through. And the way that we've done that is we've actually done a 20,000 piece test production run just to make sure that we hit shipping schedules and stuff. And we privately funded that. So we privately funded this test production run, and now to go up to scale, we need to just get rid of the microscope. Now to go up to scale, we need to raise the funds to basically do the volume. Okay, next thing, actually the manufacturing of the rings. So once you've made your ring molds, you can then create the ceramic mold, create the ceramic blanks. Blanks then go after the rings. Inlay goes into the ring. Cover goes over the inlay. We've been working with the same factory in China for quite a lot now. We've got a lot of processes in place as far as QA and tools and machines that they can use for QA. And also we've done all of the initial product development. So we've gone through the whole R&D cycle at massive cost. So I think we've probably had about 600 or so samples from point zero to now. So it's and then we've done a test production run as well, which was about 1,000 pieces. And they were the ones that went out to like press and media and like the prototypes and stuff. So we know we can make them. Basically, we've spent all of that money. But now for us to actually ramp up at volume, we need to go from there. So their minimum order quantity is about 50 pieces per ring, per style, per size. So that means if we want quantity one of a Horizon size 4.5 normal, so not an alpha, then we have to order 50 of those. So for us to just basically ramp that up to production volume costs quite a lot of money, obviously, because we have to order a lot of rings, say 1,000 pieces per style, and we were launching 4 styles, and then we've got the different sizes as well. So yeah, it gets expensive, but that's because we're working at volume, and that's the right way of doing it, because then you can ensure that you're getting a good quality product. Okay, and then the next thing is packaging. We're spending quite a bit on packaging just because we need it to get to you in one piece. We need it, if you get the wrong size, for you to be able to return it in one piece. We need it to be a really nice unboxing experience, and the kind of like the leaflet needs to make it so that your first user experience is seamless and there's no pain. And same with sweet spot stickers, just making it easy. Not that interesting packaging. Let's move on. Shipping. As I mentioned right at the start of the video, shipping is a big spend for us. It's the biggest spend across the whole thing. There's manufacturing, shipping, and then there's AOB. Shipping is basically a third of all funds. And now that may seem unusual. You're probably thinking, well, you're only shipping something this size, right? How can that cost so much to ship? And there's only one reason for that, and that's because we've had the experience in doing this. The first time we shipped our Kickstarter, it was a nightmare for us to manage. And not just for us to manage, but for backers. We had so many backers say, my ring's not turned up, or it's not turned up after 20 days or 30 days. And get them out for Christmas. What we're doing is we're shipping every single ring tracked and signed. So there's going to be no headache. They're going to get there way quicker. US, probably get there in about 10 days. It's usually 10 days. France, about 7. UK will be 2 or 3. Max. Dubai and places where we ship FedEx will be 4 or 5. We're going to basically cover all of the costs on that, and you'll find that just basically makes it a much fairer experience. But it does mean that it costs us a lot of money. But it's all about this attention. It's all about this kind of quality experience that we want you to have versus the previous Kickstarter, which was a bit chaotic and random, and some people got them and then maybe their neighbour didn't get theirs. We don't want that this time. We want everything to be much more ordered and civilized and kind of professional feeling. Okay, let's quickly brush through the rest of the other kind of boring things. You guys know we have to pay taxes. Taxes are between kind of 5 to 20%. It depends on the country. Any other business, it takes up for about 10-15% of our total fees, and that's stuff like some labour costs, legal costs, any travel expenses, kind of getting ripped off on printer ink, all the app development and translations which we made. These things will probably creep in as we decide that we want to do further development and translations and all that kind of stuff later on. Being able to get to trade shows, preparation of materials for campaign, blah blah blah. Nothing too exciting. Same with office space. Obviously we need office space. We take up a lot of room now with all the different models we've got. But we also need a lot of room for if we've got 10 people coming in to help us pack because we want to do a rush and get rings out within 2 days, then we're going to need space for those people, and we can't keep using people's houses, so we need some office space for that. We've already got one office in the centre of Bradford that we use, but we'll be looking to extend that out, and we've got eyes on a warehouse in Leeds that we're thinking about using. And basically that'll mean that we've got the space to have maybe 15-20 people come in to help us do quick rush packs, and then most of the time we won't need that, but it's just about being able to have that flex. And then backer services, I guess most campaigns won't take this into account. Actually communicating with large numbers of backers, because we don't have a £500 product and with 10 backers, right? We're like £30 product with 2,000 backers or whatever. So we have a lot more people that we need to be able to coordinate and speak to and engage with, and that's really important to us, that we do that right. Last time we did 50 updates, and we replied to over 2,000 emails in the first month, just through our support platform. And then there was the forum and all of these different levels of engagement where we could all engage with everybody. It costs a lot of money to have people in and do that, and it costs time to be able to do that. And the time when I'm not doing it personally, I'm not doing R&D, and I think that's one thing that we're trying to shift away from, is kind of get my focus towards R&D and managing the company, and then get other folks, which we're doing quite well now. We've got a really cool team actually of people that are handling all the support tickets, people that are handling all the comments and messages. Next thing is press relations. Be surprised, we've done one round of press relations for this ring already. It's been really good, probably engaged with about 50 journalists, but when things land on Kickstarter and start getting publicity, that's really when they want to speak to you and do interviews. And again, that just takes up time, and we've got to have somebody that can handle all of those relations, so we kind of have to have the resources to do that. Customer service requests. So this again is just when a backer says, I ordered the wrong size ring, how do I get this sorted out? We have to then direct them the returns policy. It's just that kind of engagement type thing that costs money. Ring change request falls under customer service request, really. The actual fulfillment of the ring, so this is getting people in and helping us pack. We've been quite lucky previously, we just provided pizza and curry, but we can't, we did pay quite a few people just to kind of come in and do stuff like putting the packaging together, right? But this time we want to kind of have more of a professional outfit and setup to do it. Not a huge cost, but it's still something that you have to take into account. Oops. And then just team organisation, so that is just the resources required to organise people. And then this is the last thing, so this is the fees that Kickstarter puts in. So it's 5% for Kickstarter fee. And we have to then put the private capital forward prior to Kickstarter actually giving us the money. So we will get the money, the campaign will end in October. We won't see the money until pretty much after the rings have shipped. So I expect the funds will come in mid-December, which we will have shipped by that point, or we will be shipping at that point. And that's crazy, right? Because we have to still pay the factories, we still have to pay for every single thing. And the way that we'll do that is we'll just privately finance it. So we basically have to either take out a loan or bet against that, or take out, sell some mortgage on the house or something like that to privately finance things. And there's obviously costs involved with that. Thankfully, we've got we do have enough private finance that we can dip into from other projects that we can pull across for a couple of weeks whilst there's that buffer to fill. But that means that we've got like 5% of all the funds that we do get in actually go to Kickstarter, and 3% go to a payment processor, and then 20 cents on top of that goes to the payment processor. So in total of $30, we actually only see about $20, and then over $10 then goes on shipping, which only leaves us $10 to actually make the ring, package it, and do all of the other services around it. So we do lose big chunks of cash along the way. And then the last thing to know on just like on the fees part, and this is one thing that I think creators often kind of neglect, or one thing that kind of Kickstarter hides away from creators, not through them being malicious or anything, but it's a gotcha, right? Is that if we have a bunch of backers that order rings and then say, oh, actually no, I don't want this ring anymore, then we have to issue them a refund, and that refund doesn't give us back the Kickstarter fees. So Kickstarter still take their fees. So if you pledge $300 and then you say, oh, actually no, I don't want it anymore, we have to refund $300, but we've lost basically 10% of that $300, so $30 just to Kickstarter and payment processor fees. We don't get them back. Okay, so it's one thing that I guess a lot of creators wouldn't be aware of. Maybe Kickstarter have changed the policy on this, but I've not seen anything, and from our experience, that's what we've had to do. So that's everything. Let's just quickly jump back to the pie chart. You can get a good overview there. Biggest chunk is shipping, quarter is manufacturing, third is pretty much A or B, kind of boring type stuff. But hopefully it gives you a good broad overview of what we're raising funds for. And again, just to iterate the point that where people will say, well, you've already done Kickstarter once, how come you've not got the funds to do it? And this is really just to take the ring that we've currently got, which is this one that I'm wearing as on my wedding band, is to take this new ring, this old ring, and it's actually just to bring this new one to life at scale. We can do, realistically speaking, we could spend a quarter of this money and get 4 size rings together. But what's the point of doing 4 sizes, right? People have got different size fingers, so we need to get the funds in to get those, the rest of the molds done. And they are quite big, expensive things to do. So, any questions, then just ask, and you know where I am. Thanks for watching. If you're a backer, then thanks very much for backing. I'm going to be killing this now, so let's hope that all the campaign goes good. See you all soon, guys. Take care.